This is for everybody who wants to get into chickens. For realsies. Not like people are like, oh, eggs are so expensive. I want to. Not those people. This is for like people who really want to have chickens because they want to have chickens and like. Anyways, the top things that I tell people whenever they get chickens for the first time or whenever they're like getting the stuff to get chickens, I'm like, you gotta have a heat source, gotta have bedding, gotta have somewhere to put them, gotta have feed, and then gotta have feeders and waterers. And then I usually recommend electrolytes and stuff for when they're little. So let's break that down. Sorry, I'm not loving the camera placement today. Anyways, first thing. I don't know what I listed first, but we're going to talk about where you're going to put them first. My favorite thing to brood in and what I brood in are polytubs. And I love polytubs, one, because you can get them pretty big for relatively cheap. Like, I think I have an 110 gallon is my biggest one. And I think it was like $100. And it is my go-to for when I'm brooding like a lot of birds at the same time, or when they move up and they're bigger, that's what they go in. Love polytubs. They can be used over and over again, and they are like really sturdy. Love those things. I don't think I'd ever not brood in a polytub. I know that recently there's been a lot of people like setting up like temporary things that you put up and you take down, and they're like, I know that's been really common recently. To each their own. I personally love polytubs. Those are the ones I recommend all the time. I'm like, hey, you're buying 4 chickens. Here's a little 75-gallon polytub. It's like $60. And you can use it every year. You know, that's what I recommend all the time. Those are my favorite recommendations to make. And then, number 2, a heat source. I know recently a lot of people have been using brooder plates. I love to recommend brooder plates. I think they're a great option for everybody. I personally use heat lamps still because I just personally still use heat lamps. I haven't bought brooder plates. I just haven't bought any. Haven't tried them out. But I have definitely been recommending a lot more brooder plates because they are not fire hazards. I had a couple people last week and they're like, that's really expensive. I'll just get a heat lamp. And I was like, I have woken up, because they told me they were going to brood these chickens in their house. I was like, I have woken up to a smoke-filled room because a book was knocked in front of my heat lamp before. And I think that literally I could have died. My fire alarm didn't go off. I woke up because my throat really hurt because I was breathing in the smoke. I was like, this is definitely a good option for when you're brooding in the house, which right now my birds, I am brooding in a shed outside, so it's not a human safety hazard anymore. But yeah, I've been recommending brooder plates a lot, but everybody has their own preference when it comes to like heat lamp versus brooder plate, but I just think they're safer. A lot safer. Number 3, feeders and waterers. Depending on how many chickens you have, so if you're getting 6 chickens or less, I recommend the round like quart feeders where you screw the thing on and it like feeds them over time. Those are what I recommend for like 6 or less. If you have more than 6, I recommend rail feeders, and you can get rail feeders that have tops that spin so the chickens can't perch on them. I don't use those, not because I don't think they work, but because I just simply prefer the ones with all the little holes. I feel like when I'm brooding stuff like ducks, they get not as dirty, and it's easier for them to eat out of, personally. But yeah, those are what I recommend for feeders, are the rail feeders or the little quart ones, depending on how many birds you have. And everybody's got their preference over plastic versus metal. I hate metal feeders and waters. I hate them so much. They rust. I despise metal. But some people hate plastic, and I get that. The longevity of plastic versus metal. I've had so many metal waters and stuff like rust, and I don't buy them anymore because I hate them. Anyways, but that's just, like I said, it's a personal preference thing. Going back into waters. I always, no matter how many, if you're buying 4 chickens, if you're buying 8 chickens, I always recommend at least a gallon water, even in the brooder, just because, oh my god, birds drink a lot of water, and I hate constantly worrying about running out of water for the birds, especially I'm breeding ducks right now, so I have 2 1-gallons in there. I hate worrying about running out of water. So that's me personally. I know some people are like, I don't need a whole gallon, I'm buying 5 chickens. And I'm like, that's between you and God. That's your choice. Of course. It's like, that's just me. I'm paranoid about the water thing. It's like, if they're out of water for even 5 seconds, I'm like, oh my god, no, my babies. So that's just me. I also recommend waters with legs over waters without legs. Since I got my waters with legs, I don't think I'd use anything else ever again. When I'm brooding chickens, when I'm brooding turkeys, when I'm brooding ducks, I don't care what I'm brooding, waters with legs. The only time I'm like, maybe not with legs is bantams, just because they're little. But then I'm like, still like, just make a little shavings ramp. Speaking of shavings, or bedding in general, a lot of people are like, I use newspaper, I use this, I use that, it's easier to clean. Everybody's got their own preferences for brooding. This is obviously the entire video is my preferences for brooding. I always recommend pine shavings. I've used pine shavings literally for 8 years now. Medium flake, not fine flake. Oh my god, do you know how many times I've seen a bird eat pine shavings and die? Not at my home, because I've always used medium flake, but like just in general. Oh my god, so many times. That's why I'm like, not fine flake, medium flake. Fine flake is for horses. Which is not necessarily only for horses. You can use it in other things, but it's like, do you know how many times I see chickens eating shavings and I'm like, that's not good, girl. It's not. And I recommend pine because it's pine. And I always tell people, I'm like, I recommend pine. You can use aspen. It's more expensive to use aspen, and I don't think there's like any particular benefits, but you can. So those are what I recommend. I recommend pine. It's just my favorite. Cedar is a no-no. Cedar is a big no-no. Anytime I'm like, hear people and they're like, I've always used cedar and it's never caused a problem, and I'm like, yet, but then, everybody's got their own preference, even if I'm judging them for it. I don't remember what number we're on, but next we're going to talk about feed, and I am always brooding things that aren't just chickens. I have ducks in the brooder with my chickens right now. I did geese and turkeys last year with my chickens. Sometimes I have guineas. I think I had 1 guinea last year that I hatched. Like, I'm always brooding things that aren't just chickens with my chickens. Or I'm brooding them at the same time as my chickens in a different brooder or whatever. So I use Flock Raiser from Purina. I don't want to hear anybody complain about Purina in the comments. I'm not doing this today. But I use Flock Raiser from Purina. That's my go-to. Right now I think I'm using generic All Flock just because that's what I bought last time, and I am waiting till I get to the end of the bag before I buy some Flock Raiser. That's my go-to because I brood things that aren't just chickens. But if you're just brooding chickens, I recommend medicated. But if you don't want to use medicated, I'm not judging you for that. Like, that's not something I judge people for. If they're not, like, I judge people for using cedar. I don't judge people for not using medicated feed. I promise. I pinky swear. I think that was everything, but I do not know.